So, I mean, there's a huge amount of work that goes into not only putting on, actually physically filling carriage works, which is an enormous space, but also the act of going out there, collecting all of those applications, curating them all, and editing all that work down. And there's only 2 of you, and of course there are other things that you guys do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's not your full-time gig.
Mm.
So tell us, you know, when this all started out, and when you first decided that you wanted to present an alternative to the standard market fare, what was your first step?
Well, we were quite bored of what markets were in Sydney, so that was one of our passions for kind of changing the direction that they were going. We really found there was a need to put more of a fresh approach into the emerging art and design scene. And so from changing our markets from a weekly thing to a biannually thing, we also built some anticipation and some excitement towards emerging art, and changing the stallholders every time and doing something different, and really kind of putting a positive spin on what we were doing. And we really felt like that didn't currently exist when we started. So there was a big gap there that as soon as we felt like we'd filled that gap, there was a great response towards that.
We kind of took our own personal experiences in markets in Sydney and adapted that to our event. So everything we liked and didn't like with the markets we'd experienced, we adapted into Finders Keepers.
A couple of things there I found really interesting. I mean, making people miss you is a really good idea. So it's understandable that you kind of get bored with those markets that happen every weekend because, hey, they're going to be there next weekend. So people really look forward to the Finders Keepers because they know it's only twice a year in Sydney, and they've got to be there if they want to take part. The other thing that I found really interesting is this idea that you don't have the same stall holders every time. So if you like something, you've got to buy it while you're there because it might not be back next time. But it sounds like you have to be, you know, a little bit tough with your fans, because you really have to set some quite firm criteria so that you have fresh talent every time. Can you tell us how you figured that out?
Well, standard and consistency is really, really important to us. And some of the markets we had gone to had little to no benchmark. So we kind of identified that there was a need to create an event that supported work which was just a little bit more than a disposable product.
And I guess the other thing that you have to do is tell people no, which is not a fun part of the job, right?
Not very good at that at all.
Yeah, I think we were really trying to set that high standard of work and really change the way that Sydney was perceiving art and design from an emerging point of view. And yeah, setting that benchmark was a work in progress. We felt like that's built up over time with the reputation, and now it's become something that we're known for. So it's been a really good thing for us to do.
Let's have a little chat about the space, because we know that you're in Carriage Works now, but it's been a long path to getting here, and there were a couple of points along the way where you almost gave up. So you started out as Hope Street Markets, is that right? So I remember hearing about you guys as Hope Street Markets way back when you were actually in a restaurant, is that right?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
We started in a really small restaurant space in Surrey Hills, and we used to do it 4 times a year, but we kind of outgrew that, and then we moved on to Paddington Town Hall, which was a challenge in itself, just because we tripled the size of our first market. And then after that, we were kind of ready to give up because there was just a lot of struggles. And then we rebranded the Finders Keepers, went out on our own in June in 2008. Yeah.
And I think there was a bigger vision there, and when we started, we were quite willing to compromise on where we were and how we were building naturally. So it was a bit of a struggle, but it was a good progression for us to keep growing. And as we grew, we learnt more and adapted more to our business.
And you guys told me as well that Carriageworks was always your dream venue, but they just didn't know it yet. And how did that come about? Did they eventually, so it got to the point, I guess, where you had enough momentum behind you that they actually came calling to you?
So we were jumping between venues in Sydney, and they noticed that we didn't have a home yet, and I guess they saw potential in it, and they offered to host us. So that's our home in Sydney.
So sometimes, I guess the lesson there is, if you don't immediately get the venue that you want or the support that you want, you just have to kind of go out and do it anyway, and eventually they'll come around and realise you were right all along. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we started there was a kind of immediate call to action. Like, we didn't have a business plan in place or anything, but we really felt like there was an opportunity there where we wanted to start and just get in there and, learn by our mistakes and failures and just get it happening. So if we waited for all those systems to be in place, it could have potentially not happened.
You'd still be waiting, writing the ultimate business plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. Thanks, guys. So we'll come back and I know that you've got some other really interesting systems that we'll talk about, but let's talk about those at the end. Thank you.